Alright, so the subject is monetary policy and central banking. The specific topic for this video is BSP responsibilities. So we have here on the BSP website, bsp.gov.ph, a page about the bank, mandate, function, and responsibilities. Okay. So first we have the monetary policy. So the BSP, Trades Monetary Board, is responsible for the monetary policy being implemented in our country. So depending on the economic situation that we have, they have certain tools that they could use in their monetary policy, depending on the monetary supply in the market, which could affect, inflation. So they could, in a way, control the amount of money in circulation. They could either increase it or decrease it depending on the need of the economy. They could also help stimulate economic activities by infusing more money into circulation, and then they could also affect public spending by increasing or decreasing interest rates, allowing people to either encourage them to borrow more or to discourage them if, there's just much spending in the market. So one of the things that they try to, control is the inflation rate. So, the BSP uses target inflation, in that, every year they would set the maximum amount of inflation that we could accept in the economy. And then depending on the performance, they do have, I'm not sure if they have monthly reports on the inflation, but I think they do. And then of course there's quarterly as well. And then depending on how much inflation is already in the market, they would control the monetary supply. They would implement certain tools that would be able to help control the inflation. And of course, another thing is price stability. And then the last one is rate of employment. Okay. And then for the monetary operations, the BSP is the sole authority that could, print paper bills and mint the coins. Okay. And then for the monetary operations, they are also into the buying and selling of government securities, lending and borrowing against underlying assets as collateral, acceptance of fixed-term deposits, foreign exchange swaps. They are also in control, or they are also regulating the foreign exchange rates, and the use of other monetary instruments of BSP, aimed at influencing the underlying demand and supply conditions for central bank money. Okay, so please excuse the chickens in the background. Alright, moving on, systemic risk management. Promotion of financial stability is a formal mandate that is uniquely ascribed to the BSP. This is provided for in the amended BSP Charter, RA number 11-11, which was signed by President Duterte in February 2019. Okay, so systemic risk management, one of the requirements that BSP imposes on banks is that they should have a plan in place on how they're going to mitigate the different risks that they are exposed to. And also, it's included in their presentation of financial statements. And given the pandemic situation, they also required a so-called recovery plan that would ensure that they would return to normal operations when the pandemic is over. And of course, how they are currently coping up with the situation. Okay. Because they're trying to make sure that the financial system is functioning well and that there are no serious problems occurring. So they are trying to, of course, supervise all the banks and the financial institutions that could have an effect on the financial system that we have in a country. Financial system, of course, composed of, you have your regulatory authorities and the financial institutions themselves that are, of course, servicing the general public. Okay. Financial supervision. The BSP has supervision over the operations of banks and exercises such regulatory powers as provided in the new Central Bank Act and other pertinent laws over the operations of finance companies and non-bank financial institutions performing quasi-banking functions. So again, because they have to ensure the financial stability, price stability, economic growth and development, that the banking transactions are contributing to that. So they have to supervise the operation. Okay. Payments and settlement system oversight, essential to the effective functioning of financial systems worldwide. We have online transfers. We can send money to other people. We can pay online, even in other currencies, even if the seller is situated in other countries. So that's made possible by developments on the payments and settlement system. Okay, and of course, there's an oversight board for that. So, they are ensuring that these transactions are, between individuals, between banks, between financial institutions. Okay. Payment systems are essential to the effective functioning of financial systems worldwide. They provide the channels through which funds are transferred among banks and other institutions to discharge payment obligations arising from economic and financial transactions across the entire economy. In a way, this ensures convenience in the payment of goods and services, and in a way that helps stimulate economic transactions, because people, because of the convenience of payment, they are more likely to buy goods and services even online, right? An efficient, secure, and reliable payment system reduces the cost of exchanging goods and services, and it is an essential tool for the effective implementation of monetary policy and the smooth functioning of money and capital markets. It is this key role played by payment and settlement systems in the smooth functioning of an economy in general and its financial and monetary system in particular that gives the central bank a strong incentive for ensuring that an effective, reliable, and secure payment and settlement system is in place. But of course, although they have this, right? If you would notice, you would receive emails, warnings from the banks that you have availed of. They would send warnings like, beware of phishing emails or phishing texts, scam emails, that would ask for your credentials, login credentials, your passwords, your username. So they're trying to control that, because there are people who are not yet used to online payments, and so they do not understand that scammers or criminals would only need certain numbers from your card to be able to steal from you. Okay, so reminders for everyone if you're going to do online payments. Although we now have GCash, PayMaya, if you're going to use cards, be sure that, for me, I use a debit card, and I don't normally put a lot of money into that debit card. I transfer funds into it when I am going to purchase something online. Okay, so that even if the credentials are stolen, there's just not enough funds in the card, because before I do a transaction, I would transfer money into it from my other bank accounts, which I don't use for online transactions. And anyway, I don't have credit cards, because credit cards, even if you don't have the money, but since it's on credit, it could be used for online transactions, right? So for one, I use debit cards so that it would not be usable if there's not enough money into it, and then I just transfer money into it when I am about to purchase something online. Okay, even when using GCash or PayMaya, I just transfer money into it when I'm about to use it to pay for something. Okay, and then for cards, of course, you don't want to give out the details, the 16 numbers on the front, and then the expiry date, and then of course the name, and then the CVV, the security code at the back, the 3 numbers, right? But for some portals, they would only need the 16 numbers on the front, and then the 3 numbers at the back, and of course the expiry date as well. So those are the 3 important things that you need to protect. Sometimes there are certain transactions, I'm not sure, but I've seen some that they would ask for a photocopy or a picture or a photo of your bank card. And so whenever they ask for that, I would surely, block the middle, 8 numbers on the front, and then of course the 3 digits at the back. Okay, I've encountered someone submitting the photocopy of their cards, and all numbers are very visible. So I took the liberty and erased some of the digits so that it could not be used. It's easy to steal certain credentials if you're not aware that you are already providing the credentials. Okay, so be careful when giving out photos or those numbers out. Alright, and then we have the currency management. BSP has the exclusive power and authority to issue the national currency. So we have the banknotes, right, and then the coins issued against in amounts not exceeding the assets of the BSP. Okay, so it's no longer just gold, although the assets of the BSP, there's still gold on that, but against the assets. No. All notes and coins issued by the BSP are fully guaranteed by the government and are considered legal tender for all private and public debts. Okay. Again, for medium of exchange, so we needed the currency to be functional and acceptable as a form of payment. Inclusive finance, in line with its strategic mandate to promote broad and convenient access to high-quality financial services and consider the interests of the general public, the BSP undertakes various programs and policy initiatives aimed at enhancing financial inclusion, financial education, and consumer empowerment. So, the BSP, of course, they have circulars, right? They have mandates to the banks and other financial institutions of which industries that they needed to support. Let's say the government is prioritizing certain industries, then they would, provide us some sort of mandate that you should use at least a certain percentage of your assets and lend them to this particular group or industry. Okay, like the Land Bank of the Philippines, of course, we know that they are prioritizing farmers and fishermen. And then the DBP, they are prioritizing small SMEs, small and medium enterprises, barangay micro enterprises as well. Okay. And then, of course, we have the Philippine Amana Bank for the Islamic people. Okay. And then they are encouraging banks to have programs that would cater to people from the lower class economy, right? So before, banks would have a savings account that would need maintaining balance amounting to 2,000 pesos, 3,000 pesos. And so ordinary people would not be encouraged to open and maintain a bank account because of those requirements, right? And then there would be dormancy fees, there would be fees for falling below the ADB, average daily balance. So it's discouraging. And so the BSP asked the banks to have certain products that would cater to those people. So we now have cards that don't have maintaining balances, 0 maintaining balance, or 100 or 500. And then, of course, they would the charges would be on the transactions done on the card, balance entry, transfer, or withdrawals. Okay, but it would offset already. It's more, doable for them rather than maintaining a high amount of balance on their cards. Okay, so they're providing different products for different groups of people. Okay, consumer empowerment, financial education. Some banks, they have lending programs, and then they ensure that they provide some sort of assistance to the borrowers, how they're going to use the money, where could they put it for better use if they're not yet going to use it in the operations of their business. Okay, and then next we have loans and credit operations. BSP extends discounts, loans, and advances to banking institutions in order to influence the volume of credit consistent with objectives of price stability and maintenance of financial stability. So again, depending on the situation in the economy, so the BSP could increase or decrease the interest rates. And then for banking institutions, they could also provide loans or advances. Normally, these are just short terms because essentially the banks do have their own money But sometimes, there would be seasons when a lot of people would be withdrawing money from them. Let's say opening of classes or during celebrations, Christmas, right? New Year. So there's a huge bulk of withdrawals during that time. So sometimes the cash available in banks would not be enough to supply those. So they could borrow or make advances from the BSP for that. Okay. It's not because they don't have the money. It's just because that they have already used the money for, other activities. They could have put it in short-term investments or long-term investments, or they could have lent it already to borrowers. Okay. It also grants loans or advances to banking institutions in precarious financial condition or under serious financial pressure subject to certain conditions. So normally, smaller banks would be more susceptible to, having financial pressures or financial troubles. So in that sense, they could ask the BSP for advances so that it would help them in continuing their operations until such time that they could reverse the situation and improve their financial condition. Okay. Discounts, for example, the prevailing market interest rate is 12%, but since these financial institutions stated here are already under financial pressures, financial trouble, so they could get the loans at lower interest rates. So that's the discounts, right? International reserves management maintains a healthy level of international reserves to provide liquidity support in times of volatility in the exchange rate and balance of payment. So this is more on, support for the strength of peso against other currencies in the foreign exchange. Okay. International operations mandate on international operations under the purview of the International Operations Department is to support the promotion and maintenance of price stability, external sustainability as against other currencies, and the integrity and value of the Philippine peso, so inflation, controlling the purchasing power, through the effective management of external debt, foreign investments, and other foreign exchange transactions. Okay, it's not just the internal economy, national economy here in the Philippines. Sometimes the price stability, power of peso would also be affected by external factors because of the international operations. Okay. International economic cooperation, proactive engagement in various regional and international fora significantly contributed to domestic policy formulation, assured partners through established crisis prevention safety nets, broadened opportunities offered by financial integration, cooperation agreements, and raise skills and knowledge through capacity building initiatives. Okay, so we have international institutions, financial institutions, the IMF, the World Bank. Sometimes they do extend loans to the Philippines, and we do in fact have loans or debt from them. And in a way, it's helpful in times of need, like, during the pandemic, we needed cash infusion to provide cash aid to the needy. But in a way, it could be negative in such that, our debts are increasing. But we do have that channel from where to get money in case we are in need of it, right? So international economic cooperation. And of course, aside from that, they have programs that would help us improve the financial system. It's the BSP's responsibility. The economic education, BSP's economic education portal provides the general public a guided access on the BSP's collection of information on economic education for them to better understand and appreciate the role of the BSP. So, understanding what is the role of the BSP, what exactly are they doing as the country's central bank. In the Philippine economy, as the portal strategically presents the BSP's available learning materials, it aims to develop and strengthen the public's knowledge on economic concepts that could eventually guide them in making sound economic and financial decisions. Okay, so they do try to educate the public as well, especially, currently the online information, data privacy, what information should you not share with others, and then of course understanding economic concepts like the law of supply and demand so that they would not be surprised if there are increases in prices, and they would not make comments like comments that are, senseless, like, why can't the government just print more money? You have that right. I found this good video on YouTube. I will be providing it on the links in the description, but maybe about why although we've already discussed this in a previous video, why the central bank can't simply print as much money as we need, because again, it would contribute to inflation, and we're trying to control the inflation, right? So these are, the major responsibilities of the BSP that we have. Mainly, of course, we have the monetary policy. All right. So that's it for this one. Thanks and bye.